Unstoppable kick-ass confidence. Are you ready?
Welcome to the Raw and Unscripted Show with Christopher Roush, where we help you overcome your self-created crap without the self-help fluffy bullshit. Now please welcome our host, Christopher Roush.
And please welcome our host, Christopher Roush. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of the Rockstar Kick-Ass Unstoppable Nation? It is I, your host, Christopher Roush, and your No Excuses coach, back here with another episode of the Raw and Unscripted Show. And tonight is going to be very special because it is truly, truly raw and unscripted. Now, I will tell you something. Before I tell you something, I'm going to tell you something before that. And here's what it is. Go back and check out last week's episode. Got a lot of fanfare on it. Last week, we were talking about maturity in humanity. And there's no shortage, there's no secret that there's a lot going on in the world. And what I've been really dedicating my time and effort to on this show is planning out the shows and talking about what's going on in the world and talking about ways not just be positive, but to be real. How to be real with our emotions, how to be real with others, and how to bridge the gap of what's going on in the world. And so we talked about that. We talked about more so how we become the people we become, and how to look at one another with a vision of that we're more the same than we are different. And so tonight is truly, truly raw and unscripted because I'm just coming to you with my feelings. I didn't do any preparation for this. I have some ideas. I put out some social media posts saying, hey, I will answer your questions, which I love to do. And I just decided, you know what? I haven't done one of these in a while where I just come to you heart to heart, nothing prepared, nothing planned. I'll have to write up the show promo and everything afterwards. And normally I do that before and I have an idea where I want to go. But really want to go is to let you guys know everything's not always okay with everybody. And sometimes people sit there and say, Chris, you're always so positive and you're always so energetic and you're so this and you're so that. But I'm here to tell you and kind of share with you in a raw and unscripted fashion that life is challenging. Life is challenging for all of us. And you know what? That's okay. It's okay to be honest with ourselves and say, you know what? I'm struggling. And I will tell you this, I'm approaching 57 years of age next Thursday. You know what I get to do next Wednesday? I get to have an infusion of iron into my blood because for the last year, I have been chasing and trying to figure out why I have felt like shit, absolute dog shit. I bring you the episode, I do these things and I do my social media posts and whatnot. And that's where people get the perception that everything is fine. But for me, as I evolve, as I get older, there's lots of things that I have to process. Being a dad to a 9-year-old, being a husband to a wife who is very passionate about what's going on in the world and stays very abreast of the news situations and her volatility and her emotions and her anger and my frustrations and my own identity of who I am, all combine into moments of despair, into moments of uncertainty, into moments of frustration, all the different emotions that you can imagine. And sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes there are days where I decide, you know what, I don't feel like getting out of bed. I don't feel like being the No Excuses coach because quite honestly, my heart hurts for humanity. My heart hurts for people out there who want to get better and want to change their lives, but feel there's a sense of hopelessness. There's a sense of despair. And I'm with you. I am with you. I don't follow the news or watch politics, but I do get headlines on my phone. I do hear about it from my wife. I hear about it from other people. I see it in social media and it breaks my absolute heart. And so I was just talking with my website guy, by the way. We're redesigning my websites and simplifying my message. I'll give you a little sneak peek for those of you guys who are watching the show, because we do it live every single Wednesday night or Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But here's an idea of the new logo. No excuses, just results. You guys watch or listening to this, I'm looking at some new logos. I'm changing the show around because it did start off. Look at that one. Can you see that on merchandise? The show started off as a personal growth and a personal development podcast. And as I've shared with you guys in the recent episodes, this year I want to, and I will talk about more life events and different things that are going on in the news because I need to be informed about these. I was just talking with my friend, talking about this thing called incels, where young men aren't dating. They're not going out. They're not having friends. The whole male loneliness thing is going on. There is so much that is going on in the world that this podcast has to grow, and it has to grow in a way that it helps us grow and evolve, not just from a personal growth standpoint, but from a humanitarian standpoint. And when I look and I think about what the world might be like for our kids, it breaks my heart. And so I think, what can I do? Like, I could be Mr. Rah-Rah, and I could sit there and I bring personal development. I can get you to ditch your excuses and just have results. But at the same time, we need to process our emotions and our feelings. And I felt this particular conversation tonight, being truly raw and unscripted, was just me sharing with you that we're all trying to figure this out. We're all trying to figure this out. And in some situations, we're closing ourselves off, and I've been saying this a lot lately, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. But what I encourage us to do is look within our own mental health. And I was just talking to my wife about this. She's like, what are you going to do your show on? And I said, I'm just going to do it from whatever comes from my heart. And she was saying, like, people are struggling. Yeah, right. The whole personal growth space, people are just trying to survive. They're just trying to keep their wits end about them. And I can see from what AI is doing and everything else. And I've done shows on this. So please go back and listen to those, because these are all building blocks on trying my effort to share with you what it takes to be that person who's going to be able to handle these situations, right? And you think about it, like, what am I truly made of? And it's okay to have these moments of despair. I literally just wrote it down here, and I think I may have mentioned it last week. Therapy. Like, I have coaches and I have mentors and I have people that I talk to. I talk to my wife, but I need somebody to talk to as well and process, how I'm getting older and how my identity is changing and how it's shifted, and being a father to a 9-year-old and being responsible for coaching clients and doing this podcast, because I do this as a service. I do this out of the goodness of my heart. I've been doing it now for 7 years. And the reason why I show up every single Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the podcast where you can see it, is for connection. My goal, my intention is to connect with as many of you from around the world and show that we are more the same than we are different, right? And that mental health matters more now than ever. And I will share this with you. My mental health has struggled. Thank God for music. Thank God for my family. Thank God for books and the fact that I have access to information that I can watch and learn and grow and be able to understand. I have ChatGPT I can ask questions about. I can get answers and I can start putting things into play. I can journal. But one thing I've just found for my own mental health recently, and you may laugh at this, is getting into simulation racing. My son got a PlayStation 5 this year, and I like video games and I like racing and stuff like that. I'm not a first-person shooter or anything like that. But I found that when I get into my racing game, guess what I can't think about? I get to block out all the other thoughts in my life, and I get to take a break. So when I grab my steering wheel, my gear shift, and I'm watching the screen and I'm racing. My son asked me last night, he goes, why do you like the racing game so much? And I'm like, because I used to kind of race. I've always been in the fast cars or anything with a fucking steering wheel and a gas pedal, pretty much, except for a boat. I've never owned a boat. I've had motorcycles and dirt bikes and all these different things, that it's my opportunity to escape. And you need that. You need that. If you're looking at your phone constantly all the time and you're looking at that. I was looking around at the gym today. I go to the gym pretty much every day during the week at least. And I looked around, I'm like, that person's on their phone, that person's on their phone, everybody's got this. And what are they doing? They're talking about it with other people, and we're sharing this stuff. And we need to focus on our mental health. We need to focus on our journey and what it is that we can do to better ourselves and be able to say, you know what? I can't control what the government does. I can stand up and I can protest. I can write my congressman. I can write my senators. I can do things. But ultimately, it goes back to the thing I preach about a lot on the show is, am I part of the solution or am I part of the problem? Right? My wife and I decided that, in our community, in our little subsection of Riverside, California, we have a community called Casablanca, very heavily Hispanic. And so what can we do to our community? How can we help our community? How can we help our kids get to school? How can we help people feel that they're not being objectified, that they're not being excluded? How can we, so we smile. I mean, I've always been a smiler, and I just bought a shirt. I literally just bought a shirt that says free hugs. It's like, what can I do? How can I do something, maybe one thing that makes somebody smile? I just asked the person when I went through Del Taco today, getting my deluxe chicken burrito. I'm like, what's your name? And she says, oh, my name's Renee. And I said, Renee, you have a beautiful day, please. I said, thank you so much for your smile. It really made me feel better. And she just lit up, because guess what? She's probably getting complained, and I want this and I want that, and don't do this, and you screwed this up, and Can you make a difference in someone's day? Because people are hurting, people are struggling. I do this when I get behind the wheel of a car. I'm thinking, man, and I've shared this before. Like, why can't people use their directionals? Why can't people? Some people may be out there, they're driving for Amazon, they're driving for Uber, they may be doing all these different things, and they're at wit's end. They're struggling. We're struggling. And so we're sitting there, we have this expectation, oh, they should be doing this, they should be doing this. Let's be that bridge. Let's be that opportunity for us to look within inside ourselves and say, okay, how can I be a part of the solution? What can I do in my community? How can I make sure people are getting fed? Like for me, I need to get back, and I've done a poor job of this, raising my hand. I need to get back and start mentoring at-risk kids again, right? Kids between 13 and 18, young men who probably went through COVID and had parents that didn't psychologically prepare themselves for what was going on and didn't teach their kids. And now these kids are trying to process it. Because I made a joke the other day. I'm like, we learned so many things in school, the square root of an isosceles triangle, which I don't even know is a thing, but we don't learn about our emotions. We don't learn how to handle the anger, the fear, the resentment, the hurt, the disappointment, the rejection, all these different things. And these young people are experiencing this within their houses, and they're thinking, oh, do as I say, not as I do. But then they're trying to process everything, and they're like, you know what? Being an adult sucks. And so now you got kids that aren't going out and having relationships. You got men, there's a whole male loneliness epidemic, and I'm raising my hand. I've got tons of people from all over the world that I connect with online, and we talk on the phone and stuff like that. But do I really have relationships that people come into my life? No. And so that loneliness, how does that affect my mental health? How does that affect me as a dad? So I need to take ownership and sit there and say, okay, maybe I need to go out and meet more people who are playing guitar. I recently started playing guitar again and taking lessons. Maybe I go and I start doing open mic nights. Maybe I join a band. Maybe I start a band. Maybe I find people on Meetup, if that's still a thing, right? I have to take that responsibility because my mental health is suffering. And I'm just encouraging you, don't sit in isolation. Don't sit with your feelings all bottled up, and don't operate from a standpoint of constant anger and frustration and fear. And like, what can I do today? What little thing can I do today? I'm inviting people like, what's your side hustle? Like, not even if just to make money. What can you do? Like, my wife makes bread. She doesn't sell it. She makes it and she gives it to people. She gave it to her singing teacher last night. She gives it to her gym coach. She gives it to her friends. She makes it for special occasions, for people's parties. It's her way of putting her love and her effort, and then being able to give that into a package to somebody and have somebody come back and say, you know what, your bread is the best. She makes sourdough bread. It's phenomenal. And that may lead to something in a business wise, but she can do that's her way of processing her anger and frustration. Like, hey, I can bake bread and I can give you food. And so I encourage you guys to do that as well. I am doing more of that. I volunteered to be on the student or the parent council for my kids' school. What can you do? I got a free hug shirt. The point is that we need to process our emotions, and we need to be honest with ourselves. And not every day is going to be great. But if we sit there and say, you know what are a few things that I can do to start my day? Getting sunlight on our face. That has been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. I've been researching what people are doing. I watched Tony Horton, who was the P90X guy. If you guys are familiar with P90X, the guy is in his 70s and still a rock star. And I'm sitting there and he said, get sunshine. Chris Williamson, a podcaster, Modern Wisdom, one of the few podcasts I follow or listen to anymore. I actually watch it. He talks about, he's been going through mold exposure and all these different situations where he looks on the outside like everything's great. But he too was sitting there saying, hey, here's a glimpse into my life. And some people are like, oh, you look so in shape and must be a real world problem. But the guy's like, hey, I'm suffering. He goes, last year was the hardest year of my life. But if you look at his life on paper, he's buff, he's good looking, he's got the successful podcast, he's doing speaking tours, but he was honest in front of all of his audience and said, hey, I'm struggling and I'm upset and I'm sad and I'm frustrated, but everybody sits there and makes a judgment about me thinking I got it all together. And so by him communicating that to his viewers and followers, people were like, hey man, thank you. Thank you. I've been carrying around this badge of valor that I'm stronger than I appear to be. And we need to have more of those raw conversations and let people know that they're not alone. And you're not alone, right? You're watching this, you're listening to this. There's a reason why this is happening. And my goal for this is for us to end this conversation here on the podcast every single week with us thinking, okay, he said a couple of things that I should probably do, or I can try, like getting sunlight on your face in the first 15 minutes of the day. If you don't have sunlight, red light therapy. I have a red light therapy lamp in my next room, right? Can you make an investment? Can you try something new? Can you spend a few days journaling, right? Here's my journal. Looks like a cassette tape. Am I perfect about it? No. But when I sit there and I say, you know what, at least let me write down my emotions. Let me at least externalize them and sit there and give them merit. Like, I'm confused. I'm 57 years old. I know all the things to say and do, but even I'm frustrated and confused. That's why I wrote down to talk to a therapist, because we need people in our life. We need people in our life that perhaps can just listen to us and objectively sit there and say, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? What are some other things we could do? Hey, can I put a little bit better nutrients into my body? Like for me, I drink tons of water, but admittedly, I drink lots of water with Propel. Propel has a lot of electrolytes. That's good for your body, Chris. It's not good for my blood pressure when I use 10 packets a day. So I'm drinking the water, but I'm increasing my sodium, which is causing my blood pressure to go up, which causes me to feel like shit. And then I have to take blood pressure medication. So you see, so maybe I can just go without the Propel today. Maybe I can make sure I'm getting better sleep. Maybe I could make sure, like last night, I ate pretzels and some Girl Scout cookies right before I went to sleep. And guess what? When I looked at my sleep app, because I wear the Oura Ring, I woke up and my sleep wasn't that good. So if we can just start to make these small adjustments in our life, have a little something to look forward to. Me, at the end of the day, when I'm done coaching and doing the show and all these things, I sit down and I play my racing game. And it's my little opportunity to escape and to have fun and to relax and to have something else to focus on, and then come back a little bit more re-energized and say, okay, I got a break. But if you're out there living and watching the social media, I know people are on social media and I see their posts and they're so angry and I'm frustrated and they're communicating it there. Well, what are they doing to change? What are you doing to change? Well, you're obviously here listening to the podcast or you're watching this on YouTube. Thank you so much. But what is it that you can start to do? And if you're looking at the people that you're hanging around with, maybe if they're constantly in that negative space and they're constantly in that, have you seen this? Have you done? No, we should sit there and say, hey, let's get together for lunch. Let's get together for tea. Let's get together and do something, right? Let's make it a point of connecting. And so oftentimes we just kind of go off into our silos and we sit in that quiet misery, hoping, wishing, and praying that something changes. But what do we have control over changing? We have control over changing ourselves. Do I have control of what happens in 2027, which seems to be a predictor of a lot of things with artificial intelligence? Maybe that's all bullshit. I ask myself the question, and you guys can ask yourself this question too. What if that weren't true? What if it weren't true? Maybe the things that I'm seeing in my feed, which are populating my brain, maybe none of that happens, right? When you look back on history, when I was a kid, we were told to get under a tiny wooden desk in case Russia used nuclear weapons on us. So I remember being a kid. I remember that, right? So there's been things that have happened in our lives in our past that said that were going to happen and they didn't happen. And so maybe what if it's not like that? But if you sit there and you bring it back even further than that, I don't have a guarantee for tomorrow. I don't have a guarantee for the next 10 minutes. What I can promise myself, can I make a few better choices and decisions today that will reap a little bit of results tomorrow? So Chris, maybe not eating in bed at night. So you get a little bit better sleep. So you wake up a little better, and then you get out and you get some sunshine. You get some water. You get some water with lemon, room temperature, right? You eat a couple of healthy things. You go out and get some exercise. You go out and do something nice for somebody else. You hold the door for somebody. Hey, have a beautiful day. You volunteer. I can't tell you the gift I get. I get paid for my coaching. But the gift I get when I get to have an interaction with someone, whether it's in the group coaching program or the one-on-one coaching or the little workshops that I do. I'm actually going to be doing a workshop here pretty soon. No excuses and tolerations workshop. I've done it before. It's always been a hit. I need to do more of that. But when you give of yourself, it's pretty incredible what you get. And my wife is seeing that by volunteering for organizations locally where we can help our community, by going to the city council meetings and finding out what's going on in our neighborhoods and what's going on in our city. We can make an impact in that way, so that each day when we go to sleep, we can sit there and say, you know what am I proud of most today? And some days we go to bed and like, man, I was this. And I would just apologize to my son the other night because of my frustrations and the health I've been feeling and my back pain and all this different stuff. I've been being short with him. And I said, you know what? I'm sorry. And he said, it's okay, Dad. And I thought he was going to say sorry for what? Because you think, oh, they're just kids. And I said, I'm sorry, buddy. I said, and he goes, you're the best dad. And I said, thank you. Accept the compliment. I said, but I'm going through the motions right now. And I said, I'm at a different stage in my life than I was 10 years ago, 5 years ago. And I anticipate as I get older, those stages are going to become more complicated because I'm seeing it from friends. I'm seeing it from people that I trust and admire that are going through it in their 60s. And like, oh my God, if I wish I was 56 again, or if I'm going to be 57 the next week. So what is it going to be for you? Right? Because I want this conversation. I call these conversations. I want this conversation to hit you, no matter if you're in Brazil, the UK, Australia, Canada, any number of the countries that we are blessed to be able to broadcast the show to. Is that I want to make sure that I show up every single week and I deliver authentically, congruently. And that's why I was just talking to my website guy, and I'm like, we need to simplify some of the messaging on the website, because it's just not about personal development and personal growth anymore. It's about, okay, what is going on in the world today and how can we better understand it? Right. And some people, it's not my problem. That doesn't toxic masculinity. Okay. Maybe we need to talk about that. Maybe we need to understand, why is somebody a toxic male? Right. And we start to learn a couple of lessons. We start to learn, okay, was that person abused by someone in their family? Yeah. Oh, they were okay. Can I understand them a little bit more? Perhaps they didn't get the love and the attention that they need. Perhaps they've been guided incorrectly by other people. They followed the flock of what it is that they thought they were supposed to do. And then we get caught up in the machine of our ego and who we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to be doing, instead of just being. Right? How can we just be? How can you just be? And some people will fall back on religion, and I highly encourage that. Like for me, I'm not a religious person, but Lord knows I pray every day for humanity. I pray for strength for myself. I pray for signs and signals to let me know, should I continue doing the podcast? Should I continue to be in personal development? Should I get a job as a school bus driver? What can I continue to do? How can I be a bad person? Most importantly, like when I hone it down, and I want you to think about this, what's the ultimate legacy that you want to be remembered by? And for any of you guys who've been following the show for a long time, I pound legacy. What's your eulogy? How do you want to be remembered for? And I thought about this, and I haven't really thought about it in depth like I have recently, but I thought about it the other day, and I'm like, what if I died tomorrow? Who would show up and what would they say? The classic question that I talk about. And for honest, as much as it hurt me to be honest with myself, I'm like, I don't think a whole hell of a lot of people would show up anymore. I think people would be sad and like, oh, Chris impacted me. But physically, like if we held a live memorial here in Southern California, I think people would show up. I mean, I'm not trying to be super negative, but I don't think as many people would show up for me as I think that I'd want. And that hurts. And that makes me think, okay, have I been a good friend? And I've been going through that whole self-doubt myself lately. And so I've reached out to the friends that I've had for years that we're not connected close anymore. And I don't know why. Part of it is that we grow up and we get different, but I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, it has to do with me too. I've been overly positive. I used to drink a lot and say stupid shit. I'm not the perfect person. Do I have a lot of tools, and do I have the aptitude, and I have the possibility, and have I done it? Yes. But right now, maybe I'm not that person. And are people really going to sit down and say, Chris, hey, you know what you did 3 years ago, 5 years ago, that really soured me. That really frustrated me. Or, your position on this, nobody's going to really they're just going to fade from your life. And so for me, that introspection to say, okay, again, where am I part of the problem? And so I've reached out to people like, hey, we should get together on cars or get together on music, or how are you? And quite honestly, I've been disappointed. I've been hurt, felt lonely. There's people that I reach out, how are you doing? How are you doing? They don't reach back. They don't say, hey, Chris, what's up with you? And so I'm like, did they not care? Is it just that they're wrapped up in their own things? And so I take it personally. But again, you have to sit there and think, okay, what's my ownership in that? And so perhaps I apologize. Perhaps I also realize that was then, this is now. I just went through it with one of my buddies, and I'm like, am I bugging you? Like, I'm sending him screenshots of my racing game. We used to go out to the desert and stuff like that. And I'm like, did I do something to piss you off? Like, be honest with me. So I encourage you, if you have relationships out there with family or friends, reach out to them, apologize. Say, hey, you know what? I know I've always haven't been the best person in the world. If there's something that I did that hurt your feelings or frustrated you, please tell me. And maybe just letting them know that maybe there is something, maybe there's something they misunderstood. Because oftentimes we just sit there and go, we take bits and parts and pieces of things and we put it together and we make an assumption. And then, how often do we really have the balls or the guts to sit there and say, you know what, Chris, it really frustrates me, or it really makes me feel inferior. Or I mean, my friends did have an intervention with me one time. And they said, Chris, we don't feel like we can have a bad day around you. My wife and I were just joking about it. Toxic positivity. I used to call it being a compulsive motivationalist. Because I would sit there and talk to the bartender and the waitress and how's your day and da-da-da-da. And it was just because I was so excited that I wanted to share this new information that I had, because it was making a difference in my life and it was making a difference in other people's lives. But I didn't look at how it was landing for other people. And I bet some friendships that I could have had and some other relationships could have been different. But that's what this thing is called life. It's this opportunity to grow and to evolve and to question, right? Let me take a drink of water. One of my favorite questions right now. So you already got one. The next question is, if my life were a movie on the screen and everybody's watching, what are they screaming for me to do? Right? What is it they're screaming for me to do? I was just talking to my website guy, dear friend of mine, Ben. And I said, a lot of people have been telling me like, Chris, you need to be a coach to musicians. You should be in that space where you're coaching musicians. I could see you going on tour and being the mediator for people and getting people out of their egos and their narcissism. You love music. You look like a musician. You know all these different, that's something people would scream at the screen. But also they could be screaming other things as well. So I invite you to take this opportunity, because I'm being real with you, is just to start, if nothing else, start taking a little bit better care of yourself. Start journaling your emotions. Consider getting therapy. Like, oh, I don't need therapy. If you say that, that's probably a clear indication that perhaps it's for you. And if you've done therapy before, I've done it before and it didn't work. Okay, did it not work, or did you not work it because you weren't ready to be vulnerable? You weren't ready to be exposed to those feelings and those emotions of visiting your childhood or visiting your painful divorce and things of that nature. Because I've seen people that have gone back and revisited situations and they've been able to do healing, and they've been able to find forgiveness and empathy for the people that perhaps they misunderstood or they made assumptions about. And as you start to peel away that anger, and as you start to develop that deeper understanding that we're all just trying to figure it the fuck out. Nobody's got it figured out. And I was just telling the story. I've met millionaires and billionaires and actors and actresses and rock stars and all these different people, successful business owners, you name it, politicians, famous motivational speakers, you name it. I've had this opportunity to meet so many people and be in the room with them that they don't have it figured out either. And I think what we're seeing going on in the world, I don't follow who's in charge of what AI, but apparently there's this mass one-upsmanship to see who gets to the top first. I mean, why? What do you want to? You want to be remembered for destroying humanity? Like, what can we do? I know that we can sit there and we can get involved in our community and let our neighbors know, like, hey, if something's going on, I'm a real person and I care and I do these things. And then maybe just within our own neighborhood, like pick 50 houses. Like if you make bread, if you make quilts, like I know Nellie, makes, she crochets and knits things for the homeless. Like, can you do that for somebody? Like maybe somebody's a graphic artist. They could do something for you. Maybe a personal coach could do something. My wife can make bread. Like, how can we bring a little bit more love and opportunity here? Me personally, I'm really good at mentoring at-risk kids. I've actually even been thinking about starting a men's group, like in my own neighborhood. Like, let's get together in the park on Sunday mornings. I don't know what it looks like. Maybe we go for a walk. Maybe we go for a bike ride. Maybe we sit around and play music. Maybe we talk about video games and we talk about that. Maybe I put it out, here we have an app called Nextdoor. Maybe I put it out that, hey, there's going to be a men's group at Washington Park this Sunday at 10 a.m. Bring a lawn chair. And maybe 2 people show up. And we sit there and we talk about our emotions and our feelings, and they go back and tell their wives. And then their wives tell other wives, and then they tell other men, hey, you should be there. Because one thing I found out that I talked to my wife, I'm like, because there's men in my life where I'm like, I've tried to be friends with them and I try to talk to them. And she'll tell me, like, they're just not used to somebody being so open and vulnerable, ready to talk about stuff that most men won't talk about. I'm like, oh, come on. It's 2026. People are comfortable talking about their feelings, but they're not. Really already talk about surface level stuff, but they're keeping all that emotion and that frustration, and it's killing people inside. It's killing people getting cancer, the whole mental health crisis, right? There are more antidepressants prescribed than ever before, but people are still dealing with those struggles. So how do we fix that? We fix it by what I'm doing right now is, being honest and vulnerable and saying, hey, listen, this is the raw and unscripted show, 100%. And that's why I created it. And that's why I spent so much time thinking about the name when I started it 7 years ago. I'm like, what am I about? We were just talking about, again, my website guy. And I'll share this with you. Like, how cool is that? No excuses, just results. Unstoppable confidence. But maybe it's like life explored, so that every single week you and I show up together as a community. My website guy, we're going to be creating a community that's not like Facebook. It's a private community of like-minded individuals where we can come together and share what's going on in our lives and not have to read the politics and all the other stuff. God's honest truth, I love social media, but I can't go on there and look because there's so much toxicity going on there. And there's a lot of great people out there posting positive stuff, but we need to be having those deeper conversations with ourselves and with others in our life. So I encourage you, if you don't have people in your life where you could be that vulnerable and say, hey, listen, I'm scared of getting cancer. I'm scared of being a terrible dad. I don't know what the next 10 years are going to bring. I don't know what the next 2 years are going to bring for humanity. And how is that going to be? And how are we going to survive? And how's this? And how's that? Because then you get to the point of why bother? And then you go into the rabbit hole of how can I avoid my emotions and my feelings? And so many people, for you guys listening, I'm picking up my phone. So many people are in this, like people at the gym. Like, what are you doing? Like, I can understand using your phone for a workout thing and logging your stuff, but literally people are doing their leg lifts. And I'm like, put the fucking thing down. Put the fucking thing down. If you're spending more time on your phone than you are spending talking with a human being, maybe that's a place you could start. Maybe you could put a post out there and say, hey, listen, I'm not a professional at this, but I would love to get a ladies group together that meets every couple of weeks and just talks about what's going on in our life. And it could be a total private thing. You don't make money on it, but you get a couple of people together. Maybe if it's around knitting or music or cars or guns or hunting or fishing or whatever it is, if you can get a couple of people together in your community, can you imagine for a second if people really listening to this, if 10,000 people listen to this episode and a fraction of the people, 1,000 people, 100 people, 50 people, 25 people, 10 people, whoever it might be, start to do that. And then those people sit there and say, hey, you know what? I've been talking more about my emotions, and I've been understanding that, there are no guarantees in life. I get to do today. I get to do right now. And so my thing personally, you guys may have heard me say this, is to go to bed with a sense of pride. Like now I've incorporated going into the sauna after the gym. Don't like to sweat. I don't like to be in the heat, but I know it's good for my body. And I go in there for 10 minutes and it's complete silence and I sweat it out. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I'm sweating out the anger. I'm sweating out the frustration. I'm sweating out the sadness. I'm doing something. I'm cleansing my body. And then drinking the water and then having a little bit of healthy lunch and then taking my dogs for a walk and not giving myself excuses, even though I'm in pain. I mean, though my iron's been horribly low and my energy's been terrible. My brain fog's been terrible. I've done shows here where I've gotten done. I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea what I said. And then I go back and I watch the episode because some of these things I've been like, tonight I'm recording it because God's honest truth. By the time I get to 7 o'clock, I can't think. I'm like, So I've been recording them earlier in the day when I'm at my strongest right now. I'm recording at 4 o'clock. This is going to air in 3 hours. And I'll sit there back and watch and I'm like, holy fuck, I said some intelligent stuff. Because I want to be engaged with you guys. It's live and I'm there in the comments with you. So I may have to record it, but there's that authenticity. Am I showing up for myself? And there's some days where I haven't shown up for myself. And there's some days where I've had pity parties and why me? And why hasn't the podcast grown and done this or done that? And then I just realize, again, everything that has happened in my life and everything that is happening is preparing me for what's next. And then usually my response is, well, I've been tested and I've been tried so much in my life. Why can't I just relax? But in times where I've just relaxed, then it's like, okay, where's my sense of purpose? Where's my sense of mission? Where's my sense of community? And when I study successful people who live a long time. You could sit there and you could Google blue zones. You can sit there and there's tons of YouTube videos, Netflix videos about people who are over 100 years old. They talk about why they've been living so long. And oftentimes it's number one thing, their relationships. And I will raise my hand. For those of you guys listening, I'm raising my hand. I've done a poor job in my relationships because I'm the lone wolf and it's just easier for me to be on my own and people don't understand me. Maybe I've just been a dick about it. Maybe I've been selfish about things. Maybe I've been misunderstood, which I'm sure that's probably one of my biggest things in life that I just can't stand is to be misunderstood. And because of the way I look, I've been misunderstood. I've been judged. And that hurts. But am I doing something to solve it? Have I reached out to those guys? Yeah. Have I done my part? Yes. Would I be there for them tomorrow? 100%. And would they be there for me if I reached out to them? I'm sure they would. Well, okay, what have I done to improve the quality of my relationships? My personal relationship with my wife. Have I been the best husband that I can be, or have I taken her for granted? Or does she take me for granted? Or do I take my life for granted? No. But sometimes that is true. Sometimes that is true. But we got to be honest. We got to have those deep conversations and say, okay, where can I do better? Where can I do better as a friend? So look at your 5 closest friends. And maybe make it a point over the next 7 days and say, I'm going to reach out to him like, hey, I watched this guy on this podcast, Raw and Unscripted. You should check it out. And I just want to know, what can I do to be a better friend to you? And then be ready to listen. Don't cut them off. Listen and say, you know what? I appreciate you sharing that with me. So what you're saying is that although I am a good friend, I don't listen very well, or I don't follow up very well, or I don't check in on you very often. Or I take you for granted, or I don't do the things that you like to do, or I constantly bitch, piss, and moan about my life, which I know people that do, and they tolerate. I'm like, why do you still tolerate that? Well, that's just how she is. Have you ever said anything to that person? No. Okay. Is that working for your best mental health? No, it gets exhausting. Okay. When is that going to stop? When is that going to stop? This life is constantly going to change. And I see people in their 60s, their late 60s, and they're looking back, oh, in my 50s. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know what? I'm going through some shit right now, but chances are it's going to be more shit. And I just saw a famous rock musician, Dee Snider, the lead singer of Twisted Sister. I just watched a thing. He just did plant medicine for the first time at 70 years old. He's got degenerative arthritis in his shoulders. He's got blood pressure issues. He's always been a stellar of physical endurance and being able to sing and run around on stage. But now he's 70 years old and he's like, fuck, I can't do what I did in my 50s or my 60s. So life is going to continue to life. That's what I'm trying to say. And that we need to continue to evolve and have that opportunity and that awareness and that sympathy for ourselves to say, you know what, I'm not who I was anymore. I'm not who I'm yet to become. I am who I am right now. And how is it that I can grow? And how is it that I can heal a little bit and give myself some grace? Because so oftentimes we have the pressure on ourselves to be this or to be that, or to really fulfill our identity. And I've done a bunch of shows on this recently in the last, if you go back and look at probably the last 6 months to a year of the shows I've done, a lot more vulnerable, a lot more about introspection, a lot more about recognizing patterns within ourselves and within humanity. So how can I do that? And sit there and decide that, hey, tomorrow when I wake up, today was a tough day. Today, maybe I wasn't so good on myself. I didn't talk so good about myself. And I was thinking about this the other day. True story, talking about negative self-talk. I was making a screen for my window. And I had been procrastinating on it. And I know I was procrastinating on it because I do not like doing numbers and measurements. I'm not good at it. Not good at it. It's not even this negative self-talk. That's not my strength. And I kept putting it off. And then one day I sat there and the front screen started coming apart and I could have glued it. And I said, you know what? No, that's bullshit. Because my word for the year, and even though it's February 17th, you could still have a word for the year. My word for the year is completion. And so I looked at it, I'm like, would I be proud of that half-assed job? Is that something that I would be proud to show my son? Right? The different questions you ask yourself get different answers. And I thought, you know what? I have the time. I have the tools. I have the resources. There is no excuse why I can't take this. I have the window frames, right? They come in a package and you have to cut them and put them together and you make it. I'm like, Chris, is it realistic that you can actually fucking take a minute? I have a measuring tape now that shows me 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, 3/4. It tells me exactly. So I just need to measure twice, cut once. Fucking did that. Was out there, was all proud of myself. I'm doing it. I misread the instructions because I took it for granted. I made an assumption. Oh, that is a 90-degree angle. Oh, that's the sideways one. So I got out my miter box and got out my hacksaw and cutting it. And okay, fuck, I made the angle the wrong way. Fuck, did that. Okay, didn't look at that. Shit. Okay, wrong size. How did I cut that so short? In my own negative self-talk out loud, like, Chris, God, you're such a dumbass. And I was somewhat joking, but I said it over and over again. I'm like, Chris, you're not a dumbass. You're rushing this because you want to get through it, because you don't want to make any mistakes. Pause. And so I wound up screwing up this whole thing. And instead of giving up and being frustrated and throwing it and literally almost thinking, okay, I'm just going to hire a screen guy to come out and replace all the screens, I said, no, completion. I said, I'm going to go to Home Depot. Don't like going to Home Depot. It's always busy, parking lots of jam. I'm going to go to Home Depot and I'm going to buy one window frame kit. This is God's honest truth. Went and bought it. Didn't have the white one, only had a silver one. All my window screens are white. Fuck. Chris, you're going to finish this. You're going to fucking have a screen in that window by the end of tonight or else. Came back, started working with it, was able to, how did I do this? Ultimately, I created 2 screens. And I wound up, because I'd screwed up the one, I was able to make a smaller screen that I needed to fix out of those scraps. So I didn't waste it. I was able to cut those off. And then also I was out there and I reread the instructions. I'm like, oh, a 90-degree is straight. A 45 is curved. Okay. So now it becomes easier. So now I just need to cut it. Oh shit, I didn't cut it and allow for the little insert. Okay. Ultimately, I just stopped and I just did one step at a time. What's this one? How can I line it up? Deep breath, go get a drink of water, go walk away from it, measure it again, look at the instructions, patience. But my intention is to complete it. My intention is to give myself grace. Chris, you're not a dumbass. Chris, you just haven't made a window screen in 13 years. Give yourself a break. Ultimately, you're going to complete this. Ultimately, you're going to go to bed tonight going, I didn't run away from it. I figured it the fuck out and I got it done. What's next? So what's next for you guys? You're listening to this. There's got to be something or someone or both in your life that you could say, how can I improve that? How can I make that a little bit better? Maybe if I'm going to get to know the neighbor on each side of my house just a little bit better. I know Ken is that way and Akbar is that way. And I know the family next door to that because their kids play with my kids. But how can I just know, like, the neighbors across the street? I know all of their names except for the daughter. There's 5 of them. How can I do that? But ultimately what I'm talking about is having integrity, having your values. Like, what do you value in yourself? And if today is a bad day and today is a frustrating day, give yourself that opportunity to have a pity party. Man, I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm disappointed. I'm sad. I'm angry. But if I continue to do what I've always done, I'm going to continue to get what I've always got. And when you change the way, this is Dr. Wayne Dyer, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So again, if you are being a part of that solution, if you are identifying, hey, you know, I did things with integrity today. I did things with intention. I did things with passion. I did things with purpose. I just didn't float through the day. I just didn't bitch about the day. I just didn't blame the government or blame my parents or blame society or blame the police or I got out and I did something. So that when you go to bed tonight, you sit there and look back, man, I'm proud. I fucking went to Home Depot. It may seem like the smallest things, but I did this. I put my laundry away. I did the dishes. I dusted the ceiling fan. What can I do tomorrow? And then you go to sleep and you sit there and think, tomorrow, okay, I'm going to do what Chris said. I'm going to get up and I'm just going to go out and sit outside in the sun for 15 minutes. And then I'm going to spend 15 minutes reading an article or reading a book, reading a couple of pages. And I'm going to learn a couple of things. And then maybe I'm going to spend a few minutes journaling. Maybe I'm just going to write out all the emotions that I'm feeling. Maybe I'm going to sit there and make it a point to drink a little bit more water. And you start to feel better. You start to build your confidence. And that's how you get through tough times. By contributing yourself, that vulnerability, growing your relationships, having that intention, that passion, that purpose. And it may not be what it is that you're doing today that you're going to be doing tomorrow, right? Maybe we're all going to be growing vegetables tomorrow. I don't know. The uncertainty of the world is pretty overwhelming. But at the same time, if I continue to tell myself that, that's what my body's going to manifest. But I sit there and I determine that, hey, you know, in the bigger picture of all of this, I get to teach my son how to have a perspective of being resourceful, of being contributory, right? How to contribute, how to take responsibility, right? He's learning those things. So how can I be a better example for him? How can I be a more patient example for him? That again starts with the intention. As soon as I'm done recording this podcast, I'm going to go pick my son up. And what I'll do is I'll sit in the parking lot. I'm like, what does my 9-year-old son expect from me? He wants me to be excited about going home and playing the zombie car chase game. I need to find a way to have an opportunity to give him love and support and space, but also the accountability for him to have responsibility to clean up his room, right? To work on his writing and his language. So if we're involved in the little parts of our life every single day, then guess what? If you're focusing on those things, the other stuff is still there, but it's not a primary consumer of your mind and your emotions. And so you can still be aware of those things and sit there and say, you know what? I can't control what's going to happen tomorrow, but I can control what I'm doing today. And I can sit there and have conversations with my family to say, hey, you know, if we need to, could we move in together? What can we do? How can we help support one another? But please don't invalidate your feelings. And please don't just accept the way it is that you feel without doing something to change it. So like how to get over frustration, anger, and disappointment. There's books, there's websites, there's videos, there's podcasts, right? You're listening to this one. You can sit there and take that question and sit there. You know what? What am I supposed to be learning right now? What am I supposed to be right now? What am I supposed to be learning? I'm supposed to be learning that to give myself grace, to give myself understanding, but also sit there and say, Chris, it's not going to be like it was. And there's no idea what it's going to be in the future unless you sit there and you partake in the solutions of those things. And it's not easy and it's not perfect. I'm here to tell you, there's been times where I wanted to give up on the podcast because it wasn't like Joe Rogan and it wasn't like Chris Williamson and it wasn't, but I look and I'm like, are people listening to it? Are people downloading it? Are people sharing it? Yeah. And I can't thank you guys enough, whether you're listening or watching. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for supporting this message of raw and unscripted life, because we're in this together. We're in this together. So the more that we're able to be a participant of life, then we won't have the thing I talk about a lot is regrets. I don't want to regret anything. And I'm sure there are probably, I've accepted this. I'm sure there's going to be things that when I get to my life, my mother-in-law is going to be 84 this year. I'm sure there's things that she thinks about. I was just watching that Dee Snider guy. He tried plant-based medicine. He had to cancel his tour. And he had to sit there and say, I'm not going to be a reduced version of what I was. That was then, this is now. And I could still be involved in music and songwriting and film directing. And he's accepted that new chapter in his life. So what's that chapter for you in your life? What's this new chapter? How can you be excited about it? How can I become stronger physically, mentally, spiritually? Do I give myself time and space to think and meditate? Right? So I hope, it's my sincere love and desire for each and every one of you in the realm of listening to my voice right now. And it does my heart so good to know that we're in 98 countries. I don't literally look at the stats. It's not my thing. Is that we're making a connection. So please send me an email, info@noexcusescoach.com. Send me a private message on Instagram or on Facebook or on YouTube or wherever it might be that you're listening to this or watching this on LinkedIn. Let me know what it is that I can do for you. Next week, I'm actually going to be doing the question and answer show. People sent me some really great questions. And so next week, I'm going to be doing that. So if there's a question that I have encouraged you to think about here in this episode, send it to me. I would love to answer it on the air. You can do that anytime. I'm here to serve and help. And again, if you're interested, my group coaching program is supremely affordable. If you've never had a coaching session with me, I will give you a free session, complimentary. You bring one situation to the table. I will give you all sorts of feedback. I will ask you questions. I will help you walk away from that 45-minute session feeling empowered and feeling armed with things that you can do personally in your own life. If you join the coaching program, or if you want to coach with me, that is amazing. The only thing I'm going to ask you to do is go do 3 nice things for somebody else because I did something nice for you, and let's pay it forward. So can you start to pay it forward in life? If you're in a place where you have groceries, can you donate some money to a local? Can you go to the store and buy some groceries and go buy some canned food? Go to the dollar store, buy some Top Ramen, buy a case of Top Ramen for $20 or whatever it might be, and take it to a homeless shelter and just say, hey, this is just something I wanted to do today. I know it's not much, but it's something that I can do. And if people do that and we're able to reach out and help our community and help our family, and my golly, we get to go to bed tonight feeling a sense of pride and accomplishment and a sense of purpose. Right? So it is my intention and my purpose and my love for humanity that I bring this to you as I have. So please let me know what it is that you think of this particular episode. And if you want more like this, and we're going to continue to dive into things that I don't know about this year. We got some guests lined up that are going to be pretty amazing. We're going to bring back guests this year. And we're revamping the website. So there's lots of exciting things to go on, and I'm excited about what the future holds for myself and how much different I could potentially be in 6 months from now, and my health being better and all those different things. And I'm going out and enjoying concerts and doing my sim racing, and I'm working on my car and being a dad. So there's lots of things I'm excited about doing and helping my community and being that vision of love and unity and bridging the gap on a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world. Because at the end of the day, when I die and I pass away, I'm going to look back and think, man, fucking came and kicked ass. So I love you guys. Enjoy the episode. I love you guys. Go back and check out some of the previous episodes. If you have not done that, you can go to rawandunscripted.com. We're on podcast. We're on YouTube. Check out the shorts. I post shorts all throughout the week. It's little snippets of the show, snippets. I do TikTok videos. I'm constantly doing something to try to do my part to make this world a better place. So you do yours. Let me know how I can support you. Share your stuff out. And I will see you next time on the Raw and Unscripted show.